Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I had a cough there at the worst possible time right during the intro. But again, we'll keep it in for honesty's sake. Today, we're going to be showing off not the Salt Graduation Tower. I know I keep saying it, however, every time I go to do it, something's going on, and I just can't. Right now, the weather is piss poor over in that specific chunk because my base is split between different chunks. The chunk the Salt Graduation Tower is in is raining up a storm. It's horrible. It's thundery. It's all crappy. So I guess I'm going to go to where the weather is gloomy and not all rainy and annoying and everything. And I'm just going to show off our brewery. That word is so hard for me to say. Brewery. Brewery. The place where stuff is brewed. But I guess it's also kind of a distillery, though we make aqua vitae in our chemical plant, which I also want to show off. But I guess that's enough yapping. Again, thank you to everybody who likes, subscribes, comments, interacts, all that good stuff. I appreciate all of you. Thank you guys for consistently being here and supporting me and helping me, propagate a little community here. I love interacting with everybody who enjoys this game. I'm in the Reddit all the time, looking at cool builds and seeing people experiment with stuff, and people go absolutely crazy with chiseling. So if you're interested in the game, because that's why you're here looking at this video, you should go check out the Reddit. There's a lot of really creative people there, and if you have Discord, you should go ahead and join the Discord for the game as well, because there's a lot more creative people in the Discord just showing off really cool stuff. So if you're here to see cool stuff, hopefully you'll think my stuff's cool, but if not, you'll have a little palate cleanser if you go visit the Reddit or the Discord. But that's enough yapping. Let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to make my way over to the brewery, to the place where we brew stuff, and I'm I'm going to do the tour. So, the distillery, brewery, I just need to find a different word. We're just going to call it a distillery. The distillery is right next to our winery, which is where we were just making wine from the bushes and stuff that we have. But then since we've got lots of grains coming up and we're trying to get into making aqua vitae, I think it's vitae, but the girls, they are so pretty. Since we're getting into making that, we needed a bigger place to do it, and if you've been following the channel or look at my videos at all, you know I love scaling up production. I just find it makes things easier. It takes a lot more to invest into it, don't get me wrong, but once it gets going, it's a lot more comfortable for us to, air quotes, mass produce stuff. So we have the winery that bleeds right into its outside space that I've shown off before, and then that feeds into the distillery over yonder. And this goes down into our wine cellar, which I'll probably show off at some point. But this is just a spot that I framed up to make it look like, I think this is claystone sand inside there. It just makes it look like, maybe there's some grain or something being mashed up inside this giant barrel, or vat, I guess would be the correct term. And then we just got some barrels and buckets next to it. Kind of the same thing we got going on over here with these grapes, with the gravel that you get from around the hot springs. I cannot remember what the hell this is called all of a sudden. But then it comes up into this more brickwork structure where it has like a foundation that the building is set on, so it's elevated a little bit more than the surrounding area. Outside, you can quite clearly see I got some smokestacks, some apparatuses. There's some kind of tower or something. This roof right here is heavily custom. It is sort of a 26-degree slope, but there's other fiddly bits going on. Really, that's just a result of me not being good with roofs, and then having to work it into the wall of this, but also into the stack itself. So the stack looked like it's going through. It was very labor intensive. I'm sure there's other ways this could have been done that would have saved time, but I don't necessarily hate the way this looks. I mean, obviously in hindsight, there's ways I'd probably do it differently. Like really right here, I feel like there needs to be another layer of shingle going right there. Just looks kind of abrupt, but from far away, squinting, it doesn't look too bad, and where most people are down here, you'll never really notice. But I'll go ahead and just do a fly around real quick of the structure. You see I got these, the metal and glass windows from our industrial level builds, kind of incorporated into a, I don't want to say this is industrial, but it's definitely, if it's cottage industry, it's definitely upscaled. Like this is what I picture it kind of look like when someone in a cottage industry was trying to industrialize, like getting access to a cotton gin or a mill or some kind of larger furnace or something to scale up. And so I'm kind of going for that colonial period where it bleeds from artisanal industry into the early days of industrialization. Give or take a little bit of anachronisms, I guess. But this setting is already kind of fantastical or science fiction, I reckon. But the building itself is not really that interesting. You can, again, like with all my buildings, you can make it whatever shape you want. In fact, the back on this is super boring. I need to come around here and landscape this, really. But I was a big fan of, I believe this is basalt, aged basalt dry stone or something like that. And then the blue wattle and daub mixed with the regular cobblestone. I like the color palette, and then the red on the roof. I think at the time there wasn't a lot of red, so I wanted to have some red over here. I don't think that building was built yet. So this was the red that was going to be over here and, add some color variety to the place. And I was toying with the other colors of the roof, but I just liked the way the brightness of the red clashed, or at least meshed, with the darkness of the blue and the black down below it. And then, as always, I'm a huge fan of the ebony beams being just thrown everywhere to look like it's supported, and also just to frame stuff up real nice. Although this is darker than the red, the ebony is darker than that, and so with those different overlapping layers of dark and light contrast, I feel like I pulled it off. I feel like it looks neat. It has a very interesting roof, to say the least. I always struggle with the roofs on this. They have mods, I think it's like One Roof or Easy Roof or Vintage Roofs or something like that. I'm sure there's more than one. But that would make doing the roofing, whatever the plural of roof is, it'd make doing those easier, just because you don't have to fiddle with all the different angles. I really struggled. I mean, if you just make a simple rectangle, it's not too complicated. But if you try to get creative with the shape of your building, you're going to have to heavily customize a lot of the shingle blocks. And then tying those in with like the standard pieces, it's an art form. It definitely takes practice. Don't let the roof discourage you. If you need to, get one of those mods. Otherwise, just try to keep the shape of your building simple, and then make the stuff inside of it interesting. Break it up with internal walls and things like that to create some variety. But out back, this is powered by... I have used custom or creative mode to put rapids in places. I will admit that I've cheated to move these rapids around. From now on, we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to go find them out in the wild. But there's none around here. And I really wanted some water wheels to power these buildings. And it's my own server game. So I did it, I've always admitted that I will go into creative to do things that are repetitive or monotonous or something to, save some time. We go out and harvest the resources and all that stuff. And we build a lot of shit. But I couldn't not have working water wheels here, okay? Like, we picked a spot that's very water-themed. We use pressurized water. We have heated water. We have plumbing in the house. A water wheel just had to happen. So I put one out the back of this to power this guy versus just having another windmill sticking up out of the back of this motherfucker. We got too many windmills as it is. But this little water wheel design right here is really cute and small. And it generates the necessary power to rotate the kern, whatever the fuck it is that's inside. And I think if I landscape around this some more, this spot would look pretty dope in and of itself. I really love the water wheels. I hate that, like, I had to cheat to put the rapids here. I wish you could use regular water, but, like, it was less, like, you got less return out of it or something. I hate that you have to have a special rapids block. That seems kind of limiting. So I broke the rules a little bit, but fuck you, it's my game. I jest. Anyway, over here, we'll get into the actual nitty-gritty of the building. This is maybe just where hot water is, and it's mixed with stuff. I think it's like hops or something is this part of the process. So maybe this would be the hopper. I'm sure that's where that term comes from, but this goes in here and does stuff, and there's more piping. This is how we get water into the building from the rest of our water system. This is just decoration. You can imply it to be whatever you want. Really, same thing for this, but I mean, it's here to look like it actually does something with the system, which I'll go ahead and showcase outside first before we go indoors. Here's the sign for this place that my wife made that started off all my other signs that you have seen throughout the videos and on my Reddit post. She did this for this place while I was doing the inside, and I love it. It was really inspiring. It's cute. It gets the point across. I think it's neat. And I've been going really ham in the signage ever since she did this. Like, it really didn't cross my mind what you could do with it until she did it. She really opened it up for me. Phrasing, giggity. Sorry, baby. But anyway, outside here we have, I believe these are called kettles, but I think I've also seen them called coppers. They're usually made out of copper, so maybe it's a copper kettle, and depending on where you're from is how you splice that term. I really don't know. I'm not really a brewer guy. I look like somebody who would do craft brews or micro brews or whatever, but that's not me. I don't fuck with alcohol. But it just has piping coming from maybe that, I guess, into this, and then it has these gauges with these valves and nozzles. This is where we heat it up, and then it goes through and does stuff, and then it all comes up, and the waste fumes, I guess, is shot out the top. The radiant heat is out the top, and then the stuff condenses and goes into a pipe that, I guess, it's implied that we're pumping this up into the silo here. Or maybe you can read this backwards, and maybe the silo pumps the stuff down or flows the stuff down, and it goes that way, and then it goes in here to do stuff, you know? I just looked at different layouts of breweries, and at the brewing, that word is murdering me. Brewing process and distilling processes, and just kind of recreated some of the equipment in about the right place. I don't, like, I know how it works or whatever, but, like, I don't understand the intricacies of it. So again, this goes back to my talk about implication. I did not recreate a one-to-one representation of an actual brewing place. I just made something that looks like it brews alcohol. And so hopefully it does that. I probably did way more detail than what you would need in your survival world. But again, I plan on opening this up to other people to come look at and experience and stuff. So if you're showcasing your work, you definitely want to go a little bit more, pay a little bit more attention to the detail. I kind of wish I'd done the supports underneath here differently, but I was just kind of fucking around with different ways to do it, and then never went back and made it better. But in my mind, it still looks like it's supported in some fashion, and how many people are we walking around looking at this, really, except to judge me? So just keep your eyes on the prize here, boys, and the roof looks good. Just don't look at it too much. And then there's just more piping over here. Maybe this is what we turn on to activate this doing its thing. You know, it's all about the implication and the assumption. More of these windows, larger wall front here just to give us more room inside the building, and then to make the outside just look more interesting. I also needed it to be taller, that way the roof could flow from over there over top of these things without any kind of weird clipping issues. And as always, with anything you see that is metal, you do not have to use metal. Like, for instance, I've said before, bauxite can be used for copper. You can use peridotite for the zinc or something like that. There's substitutes you can use to make things look like metal. It's just that I have access to this shit, and it gives me something to do in the game when I make the plates. I sit there, smoke a cigarette, drink, talk to my wife, whatever it is, and we pump out a bunch of plates. Giggity. But that's the outside. When you come inside, this is where stuff gets really functional. You can use the fireplaces, don't get me wrong, but this is where the actual magic happens. Again, clutter is super important, and I have made so many different clutter items that I can easily just grab them. And again, I use creative because I don't have mods, but if you have mods, you can just copy and paste stuff around. So I just do that and throw some stuff away just so I can replicate, like, this cabinet, desk, whatever, is in other places. And instead of having to chisel this whole fucking thing again, I just put it here and put different stuff on top of it, which are also assets from other parts of the estate that I've moved around. So, like, just putting shelves up. I have her sign here again. Really, I could probably, since there's two signs, I could replace this with, like, a clock or something, or put the clock over there. I just needed something up on the wall because this was bare as fuck. But then I have a juicing press over there, which is not really useful. Just some stuff in the corners here to make it look like something's happening. Like this, I split the desk and rotated around the pillar to make it look like it's a corner desk, I guess, with a chair in it. And then this is where they mix stuff or look at instructions, or maybe this is just where these drinks are set and they come by and grab a drink when they're in between work and stuff. And this is the bottle that they use to refill their shit. I don't know, man. I just work here. But over here is, we'll get to that in a minute, just kind of a place for prep. I plan to put recipes up on the sign so I can know what to do without having to look at the guide or the wiki. But there's a place for water, some barrels, another place that looks like it's doing something with liquids, And then there's signs on the wall that are maybe instructions. Maybe these are notes that I've taken as I'm actually working on stuff, and I just scribbled it on the wall or what have you. Um, there's really, I mean, there's really no limit. You can do whatever you want in here, but like I needed a space, and it has some function because I can put stuff in here to like distill or ferment or whatever the fuck the word is you want to use. And then there is storage up here. But I needed this place off to the side to give me access, and in hindsight I should have organized this a bit differently. But I like the way it worked out to have access to our cellar down here, which I'll show off in just a second. But over here we have more decoration just to make it look like there's stuff going on. Again, you can just make a big old warehouse and fill it with barrels and the actual distillery unit in the game and just call it a day. And like that would be efficient, and it would probably maximize your mass production and everything. But I kind of like when stuff looks realistic and lived in and grounded and messy and cluttered. And so I have these pipes and rivets and braces and valves and handles and stuff like that, just to make it look like there's a lot more going on than what is actually going on behind the scenes. Like these pulleys don't do fuck shit, but maybe if you squint at it, you can assume what they do. The same thing with those pipes and that lever, that machine. But right here in the middle is just a cairn design with your hoppers to catch the stuff, and then a hopper on top to feed in. And it kind of looks like it has mixing paddles attached to it. I chiseled those. I hope it looks... to me, it looks like that because I know what it is. But hopefully that looks like the mixing paddles that would be mixing the stuff up, down here in this vat or whatever. But it also functions as an actual cairn. It grinds up the wheat into flour and drops it down into the cellar below. So form and function merging together. I wish there was a tool like this in the game that you had to build, like the way you had to construct the water wheel on the ship or the windmill. I wish there was something you could do so you could grind more at the same time or something. But maybe we'll get there in the future. Over here, really bad lag. Over here, the ceilings are just made to look textures and have depth to them because, again, I hate flat ceilings, even though really it would have made sense for this to just be flat all the way across. I also just did not want to vault the whole ceiling because the roof was super complicated, and trying to do a vault underneath it was gonna be me even more of a bitch. So I just didn't do it. Some custom lights that I chiseled using the creative blocks makes it look like we have some rudimentary lighting or something like that. And then over here is the actual distillery area. New cabinets that I need to stock up with stuff. But this is where the actual function of the building takes place for the most part. This is where we brew the ales and ciders and wines and stuff into liquor, such as brandies and whiskeys and stuff. So this all happens over here. It gets stored over there. And it's implied that this is involved somehow. Again, this is the actual function. We have my water access right here, so I can just fill that up all quick. Buckets are stored right there, and then the whole thing kind of flows together as one single piece, but it's also broken up into very distinct sections. This is where we distill, this is where we grind, gotta get on that grind, and this over here is where the alcohols are actually made, and that goes down to the second floor because you have to put the grains and water in these barrels to actually make the ale, I believe, which we then turn into whiskey, which we can also then use to make aquavite, which I believe is actually just vodka, really. But all of these things have a look to them. They look like they're doing more than what they're actually doing. So just a little, I don't know if that's unique to me, but I do notice that everybody approaches this game differently. So if there's anything you can take away from this, it's that I like to combine form and function, and I like to imply that there's more function going on by making a little bit more complicated of a form, if that makes sense. It made sense to me, but I'm the one who said it. But to kind of wrap this up and speed things up, because I am a rambling man, we have a cellar down here, and this is not a cellar. It is a cellar, like, colloquially, like, because that's what it is, but for in-game mechanics, this room is too big to be a functional cellar. So over here I have storage to actually hold grains and doughs and stuff like that get ground up here, so they don't spoil. But apparently alcohol doesn't expire at all once it's past like the wine and ale stage. Once it's into liquor, it doesn't go bad, which like I know in real life it doesn't, but now it stores permanently. So I can just make that shit and put it in a chest. Really, I don't even have to put it inside a cellar. But this is where the grains and stuff drop in, and I can use the flours to make the shit that I gotta make. And then here's my field of fucking barrels that I use. And I put down some boards, or yeah, boards to make a runway. And you could use the wooden path, but then like you sprint through this motherfucker. And I didn't feel like sprinting through this motherfucker. So I just put down the boards, you walk a normal pace. Still looks like you got some kind of path or elevated walkway or something to keep your feet dry from all the alcohol, and maybe this water source overflows or something when it rains because the water table's so high. But you just, oh, I forgot some, son of a bitch. You just fill this up with the stuff, let it ferment or do its thing, and then you bring it up there to distill it. And there is some decoration going on here. I did take some assets. I did put down a linen sack. But really, this was about maximizing the amount of barrels. So back to the warehouse concept of just having a big open room full of the actual functional stuff that you need. But I still tried to make it look somewhat aesthetically pleasing. And then it just walks up the stairs in a spiral. But if you, for some reason, if you hit the wrong angle, you get stuck. I guess that's just a common issue with chiseling your own custom stairs. It's at least a common issue that I have with my own custom stairs. I don't know if it's a universal experience. Let me know down in the comments if you also have troubles with walking around on your custom chiseled stairways, because mine piss me the fuck off. But feel free to pause this and take a gander at anything you want. The reason why I did this in fives is that would be 5 stacks of 3 or 3 stacks of 5. So if I have 3 full stacks of 5 buckets full of 10 liters of the alcohol, then that is a full run, fully stocked of the distillery here. So that's why I went with 5. Same thing with the 5 fruit presses in the winery. That's a stack of barrels. So if I do 5 things of blackberries or red currants or whatever, then I get a stack of that stuff back. And so that's how I try to do my math. Now it kind of sucks because what you get out of here is like fractions of the bucket, like not even a full 10 liters, just because of the way the process is inherently. So I end up having to take these buckets and like pour them into a barrel, this barrel right here, and then pull them back out and making like a full bucket or as many full buckets as I can out of the output. And that went a bit more into the process itself than the actual build, but I'm explaining why there's 5 of these here and not like 6 or 4. And having just one would really slow you down. So I highly recommend when you get to the point where you want this stuff, put the effort and the resources into scaling it up. Get 5 of these distilleries. Get 5 juice presses. You don't necessarily have to have 5 querns, but having a quern for your grain, a quern for your bone meal, and then a quern for your, like, the other minerals and stuff, so that way you can run them all at the same time. Like, that stuff, in my opinion, is worth investing in. Now, I do kind of speak from a place of privilege because I do have my wife as a lovely, consistent, reliable teammate in this endeavor. But that's just another reason why you guys should find friends and family members and stuff like that to play with and interact with in this game, because teamwork really does make the dream work. A lot of what we have here at the scale we have it would not be possible if it was just me playing the game by myself. At least not with me being employed and also having my own business. So the fact that we're able to do this is because it's a team effort. But I highly recommend you do it. Scale it up. Get more than one thing going at a time. Have more than one fireplace. Have more than one crucible going. Have more than one forge. I have more than one, like the factory. I cannot wait to show off the factory again. I hope it is inspirational and instructional and helpful for everybody who sees how I set it up. Because me and her, when we go in and we do the factory stuff, it's almost like we're playing a little mini game. And it's super neat and it's super fun. And it lets us make a fuck ton of shit out of the metal. But to try to, again, wrap this up, because this video is probably 30 goddamn minutes long already because I talk out my ass. Out here in the back of the brewery, oh, I did it that time, and the winery, is this garden area that's not completely finished. This path kind of goes off in but at some point it will be finished. But over here is like a park, maybe? Yeah, it's got like a little bird bath, a little seating area, and some stones to walk around in amidst the trees. There's some bushes here as like a hedge to separate from the water wheel and whatever landscaping I'm ultimately going to do back here. I don't know yet. But over here is a wedding venue type place. Like some kind of ceremony happens here. And chiseling this right here was super fun. I like the way that turned out. I like that arch so much. And I like having the shrubs, or the trees, I'm sorry, on the side. And then what I did is I went in creative and took an extra one or two leaf blocks from the maple and put on top of the planted sapling. And I think that's a really good look. It looks taller, but it doesn't take up too much space. It doesn't have a big full trunk. And I like the way that looks. And so I just mirrored it on both sides. We have this gear masthead, figurehead piece up here on this chiseled piece of stone. Some kind of symbolism, I'm sure, but I'm not religious. I don't know. And then just a runner carpet thing down the middle with some benches. I mean, the carpet is only one tall, but it will still stop me from stepping up on it. Beware of that. That is kind of annoying. I do apologize. But then benches on the side, some pews, and then a fountain. Maybe they come up here and like go in the water and get dunked or something. What is dead may never die, you know? But maybe that's a dragon. Maybe it's a lion. Maybe it's a lizard. I don't know. Some kind of beast with water coming out of its mouth. You know? I just wanted to have something there. I wish the water would be restricted by the shape of the hole. Giggity. But I understand like the limitations of the physics in the game. Realistically, I could have took something like blue glass and then chiseled a custom waterfall. But I like having the sounds of the running water and knowing that that is actual water and not like a chiseled thing doing something. I don't know. The authenticity of the water for me is worth it, even though it doesn't look as cool as having something actually pour out over the lip of the mouth right there, because it really looks like it should. But I digress. I think this little area is neat. I like the chisel work we did. I like the fanned cobblestone path. I just think it was a nice little accoutrement to the area. And I believe this was suggested by it might even be Cryostasis who suggested it. Or maybe it was, what's his name, Beef Yeats? One of you consistent, lovable motherfuckers suggested doing like a wedding venue type area over here. And so I did. So thank you for that suggestion. Me and my wife had a fun time making it. We had fun with the terraforming and making all this stuff flow together and feel cohesive as a unit, but having their own separate identities in this little corner. So it was nice. If you have any questions about anything you've seen here, or if you want me to go over anything in more specific detail, like I've said 1,000 times before, I am more than willing to do so. If there's anything in the background that you see that you want me to go over, I will probably make a video on it next if you're so inclined as to comment that request to me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to figure out what the next video is going to be, and as long as the weather is permitting and I'm done trolling everybody, I will probably actually do the Salt Graduation Tower next, because I do think it's really fucking neat, and I would not have done it if not for the suggestion by a really cool dude. So if you're a really cool dude, make a suggestion, and maybe I'll build something that you want me to build in my world, and then I will show it off and tell everybody that you told me to do it. Wouldn't that be cool? Until next time, that's all, folks. You guys have a good day.